30th of Jan. Milder but still cloud. Wind dropped very quiet. Snowdrops, insistent presence, containing such depths of meaning and memory.
She was one of the few women painters working in landscape from when she moved here, Luscombe in Devon, in 1961, right through to her death in 2009.
I saw a picture of Luscombe Farm. Primroses everywhere. I mean, neither of us could believe our eyes, really. So the whole place was extremely ancient in Domesday Book. I seemed to be just waiting there.
She just kept a lot of diaries and early poetry books from the 1950s and 60s when they first moved here to Luscombe. There's a really early book here with pictures of drawings of landscapes, but also cats and my father.
Well, she was always painting anything which moved her. Quite a lot of animals, ducks and things. We went to the market and bought some sheep, bought a pen of sheep. So there were a lot of sort of lambs lying about in the kitchen and that sort of thing.
Well, this is her studio that she had in later life. But for many years she painted from a wooden house in one of the orchards on the farm, and we weren't allowed to go near it. It was a very private place where she went and painted. We always knew that she painted. We always knew that there was paintings all over the house. There always was when I was growing up. But last summer I was cataloguing all the work and we found a cupboard. We just opened a cupboard and there's more than 100 canvases and boards of paintings that we'd never seen before inside. There's just so many, just don't know where to start. We just sort of began cataloguing it all, but we haven't quite finished yet. But it's like brings it up to about 250 paintings now, over 250 paintings. Well, this is a riverscape that we'd never seen before. And so there's work that we always knew was here, but there was all this hidden work, a work that I don't like. She'd almost kept it, waiting for somebody to find it.
Last night I was just up here going through some notebooks and things to take to the exhibition, and I opened a drawer and there's just all these letters from Laurie that she'd kept. That's 1961, 49 L Park Gardens, London, SW10. And This is Yasmin outside of Rose Cottage, and that's its lad, probably shortly after she found him. But when she was 19, she guessed that he was her father because she found a book with basically a dedication to Y, and just put two and two together, I think. That led to a really intense few years where they wrote to each other a lot, and these letters are from that time. They were in touch and saw each other throughout her life and the rest of his life. She shared so much artistically with him. They both really loved the English landscape, but also they were poets. I think essentially she was a poet.
These notebooks are more I think, for when she painted, records of light and weather. March the 20th, dewy, honey gold sunrise, birds everywhere still, timeless early morning of spring, ancestors everywhere, a deeply silent joy of griefs. So they are like little poems, really. She drove around a lot, just looking at landscapes, looking at the rain over Dartmoor in the distance, looking at the seasons and the weather and the light, the way it changed the landscape around her. That's what she was always trying to capture, as well as that very elusive Devon light that she loved and photographed. I mean, there must be about over 1,000 photographs, Polaroid pictures of landscapes and clouds and land and trees. Well, it was the 70s and everyone had a Polaroid camera in the 70s, and I think it was immediate. It meant that she could see something, take it and look at it in the same moment. And that, for me, her paintings were about capturing that moment.
She kept a lot of notebooks, and I kept thinking that she did a lot of looking. And she did a lot of driving around and stopping in gateways. And it all went inward somewhere. And then she would paint out of very, very deep places, I think.
She did a series of just close-ups of grass, and look, you can see that must have been in preparation for that painting. Her style was a mix of representation and abstraction. She never painted specific landscapes. They were more a sort of collation of what she saw, and then the landscape itself was more about capturing how she felt. They show nature in a process of flux and change, and they're also very emotional. So for me, she's very present in the paintings.
She got fascinated later on, of course, by the streams on the farm, woodland streams, and a lot of that white granite.
She did a late series of a Devon stream, including 2 very large canvases, which are part of the exhibition. Close-ups of streams and water and sort of essence of matter, really, water and stone.
15th of Feb. In the woods still so still, but life throbbing powerfully in every tree, bush, sapling. Bluebell leaves striking a strong and green through the dead leaves of last year. The river a quiver and a whisper, rushing on forever.
Her later work was becoming increasingly abstract. I think had she lived, her work would have gone further and further into abstraction.
The characteristic of her paintings was tremendous conflict, but resolved. That little white horse and a great black cloud in front of her. And again, beyond the black cloud, there's light. She was puzzled by that. She was interested by that.
I'm just trying to piece together why she didn't show all this amazing sort of wealth of work that she did, whole lifetime of work. I feel now's the right time because there's a lot of interest in 20th century women artists who didn't show for very similar reasons, because of the men in their lives, because they were raising children, and because when she married in the late 50s, it was still, that's what women did. They got married and they raised a family, and I think that was also part of it.
When I saw the catalogue that Clio put together, I just couldn't believe the body of work and that it hadn't been shown before, and it really deserved to be exhibited. So I really felt passionate that it should be shown in Walsall too. The New Art Gallery is a really fitting place for her work to be seen because it houses the collection of her aunt Kathleen Garman. We have work by her mother Lorna Wishart and her brother Michael Wishart, as well as works by friends and family members such as Jacob Epstein and their son-in-law Lucian Freud, and Matthew Smith, Amadeo Modigliani, Constable, Monet, Picasso, Van Gogh. So it's quite a collection. In recent years, there's been quite a reappraisal of the work of particularly women artists, women 20th century artists. And I think there's a resurgence in interest in painting as well. So I think this is a brilliant moment to be showing the work. Clio discovered much of the paintings we've got on display just last summer during lockdown. And during that time, I think we all had a chance to spend time with families, but also kind of going out in nature and reappreciating, reevaluating nature and our relationship with the natural world and environment. So I think this is kind of a pivotal moment, time for a reappraisal, and especially the work of women artists.
She wanted people to see them, in fact. And 2 days before she died, she agreed with me. She'd always been refusing because she was frightened that I would make her have an exhibition. She said, I do agree with you. I've decided that I agree with you, Jules, that my painting is good.
We decided to call the exhibition Into the Light for 2 reasons. First of all, we're bringing Yasmin's work into the spotlight for the first time in a public institution. But also her use of light is quite captivating. Her depiction of the Devon landscapes, light and dark, and beautiful use of tone and colours. So we thought that was an appropriate title for the exhibition.